Prepare to be captivated by the business story of the week, hosted by me, Shaheen Shan. Join us on a journey through the twists and turns of entrepreneurial triumphs and setbacks. Immerse yourself in the narrative and witness the magic that turns dreams into reality. This is Business Story of the Week. All right, welcome to another episode, great episode of Business Story of the Week. Today, we are excited to host Dustin, who is the founder of BioProtein Technologies and a mastermind behind the product BioPro Plus, which apparently is making waves in the supplement industry as being one of the first non-synthetic alternatives to HGH. So we're going to find out what that means. Dustin is an entrepreneur at heart. He's been bringing his brand story to athletes and professionals all around the globe. Today, he's here to share his journey and the innovation story of his supplement, BioPro Plus, and to give us an inside look at how discipline and strategy can lead to monumental success in the health and wellness industry. And we talk a lot on the show about supplements, how supplements can be a very effective path to wealth and success, because if you play your cards right, they can basically be like printing money. But on this show, we're going to do a deep dive into entrepreneurship, branding, and how you can use your personal story as a foundation for success and transform yourself into a true leader who can really succeed in a hard competitive environment. So Dustin, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. That was a killer intro. I really appreciate it. I'm very excited. I do a lot of these shows, and this one I actually did homework on, and I listened, and I am really ready to go. I appreciate you having me on.
I love it. So tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you at right now?
We're in Tampa, Florida.
Okay. So you're in Florida. How did you start out in supplements?
Oh man. By using them. By being a user of different things and being what I would consider at least in my own heart and mind, a competitive athlete. And I worked in the competitive athletic space, and I ended up in some pro sports and pro football realms. And it's a normal substance or commodity or anything else, supplements you're going to be using. And, I used them myself. I found a passion in it, and people benefited from them. So I easily gravitated towards it.
You were a football player, or what kind of athlete
I was not. I actually have never taken a real I say this joke a lot. I've never even taken a snap in football, and somehow I ended up in the football space and got to go to the combine and do all kinds of stuff. I don't even watch football. But no, I had a few entrepreneurship journeys, and one of those early ventures, I would say, actually had me in the pro football and collegiate athletic training space. So we would train off-season NFL players, CFL, collegiate prep athletes for the combine, even take kids from high school to prep them for their college tryouts and help them get scholarships, et cetera, et cetera. So I was in there. I headed up their marketing and messaging and sales department.
Okay. But are you yourself an athlete? Do you train any sport or discipline at all?
I do. I am a combat sports guy. I do Muay Thai and Jiu-Jitsu and train MMA and wrestling. And then I'm a daily normal workout guy, right? I like to lift the weights and move fast and get my cardio in like everybody else.
That's amazing. So how long have you been doing martial arts for?
I'm going on about a year.
Okay. So it's fairly new venture for you. Yep. As far as that goes. And I always think it's interesting because I myself have been training martial arts since I was 13 years old.
Wow.
And presently, my thing is also Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu that I'm a huge fan of. And I think it's very interesting because a lot of the guys I see that succeed in business utilize a similar discipline that's found in the martial arts, the ability to have thick skin, but more importantly, the ability to get knocked down and to just keep coming up, keep rising up until you can actually win, right? So at first you're surviving, right? On the mats, you're just surviving, and eventually you start to get a little bit better until you start winning. How has that affected your life and your business?
Well, you kind of took the words I'm about to say right out of my mouth. Getting knocked down and getting back up. I was thinking about what I was going to talk about on this show because like I said, I listened to a show and I was like, okay, what do you think he's going to ask me, etc. And what do I actually have to offer to an entrepreneur or somebody in business or something like that? And that's what you just said is exactly that. Is being able to get knocked down and get back up. I have found that in my previous ventures and this one currently, which I would absolutely consider my most successful up to this point, was the ability to lose. And you're not actually losing, right? But the ability to fail and continue to strive, because I have been asked repeatedly, how do you get something off the ground, or how do you build in that success? And one of the things I always say is you have to be so good that you outsell all of your costs and your failures. So your product is good enough, and your ability to give that product the messaging to outsell all of your failures, all of the things you're not good at, right? All of your bad hires, all of your early days when you're putting together protocols and you're putting together SOPs and you don't know what's going to work yet. You have to be so good and outsell and strive through all of those failures as you're figuring those things out. And with martial arts, you've been doing it way longer than I have. It's an extremely humbling experience. When you walk into a gym, which was my experience, I walked into a very fighter's gym, right? Some guy, I go out and do business, and I've done competitive athletic stuff in the past, and walking in and knowing, okay, I'm ready to get beat up here. And just knowing that those hits are coming. I'm talking to you right now with a big black eye. But that's part of the process, and that's the fun, right? Is taking the sting and learning how to not get stung again.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Fight Club. Most people don't understand the reality of combat. And one of the great things about combat, and I like to constantly draw this correlation between combat and business, is that there are no liars on the mat. You can't fake it, right? So once you get there and it's face to face with that other guy and you're on the mat, you could talk all the smack in the world that you want. It doesn't matter. If that guy is more talented than you, if he's bigger and stronger than you, Bruce Lee used to like to say, truth is found in combat. And I think oftentimes that's a reality that we find both in the business world and on the mat. Is that something that you've discovered during your experience?
In business and in combat sports, you can't hide anything in combat sports, right? And that's exactly what you just said. There's no hiding things. I think in business it takes a little bit longer when people are hiding stuff, but eventually always comes out. That's something I've always found along the way. Like any successful entrepreneur, and I use the term successful loosely with me because I find that it's, if you're really in it, what is success, right? Because it's an infinite game, right? You never win. There's no finish line. You're constantly striving to the next spot. But when I was going through some of my earlier projects I'm very able to say, because they taught me so much, they were extreme failures, right? I made a lot of failures. They expose your weaknesses, and the way that you succeed from them is at least acknowledging that those are your weaknesses and how to overcome them, and creating a plan to, number one, not do that again, and number two, execute on the things you need to do, right? As when it comes to some of these businesses of when you're saying exposing the truth or those things, it's keeping your head down, staying humble, no matter the parties involved, and continuing to work on what you're good at and continue driving through. And the truth always comes out in the end of when you come out on top.
You see it in your bank account, right? There's success leaves clues. One of my favorite quotes. I tell people all the time, right? We live in LA. I know you live in Florida, but there's a lot of $30,000 millionaires. And the guys are walking around. And I'm always like, dude, if I can't Google you and find something about your success, about all the stuff that you're talking about, you probably haven't done it. It's so hard to hide bullshit now with the internet and with all the tools that we have. So you're right. It oftentimes matters more to just have humility and tell your story, because people are interested in your mission. People are interested in you, your grit, your power that you have. The power that you have as an entrepreneur isn't in how much money you made and the Lamborghinis that you're driving. The power is in the story behind your mission, what the Vikings called their saga, behind the saga, the story of their people. So let's move forward. Speaking of saga and mission, tell me a little bit about bioprotein technology and BioPro and how you came up to creating something for somebody who knows nothing about HGH treatment. Give me a little rundown, in a minute or less of how you came about that and what the product is and how it works.
Okay, so I actually acquired the company that makes BioPro called Bioprotein Technology in 2018. I was a user of their products for years prior in the adventures that I just explained. I believed in it so much that the holding company that I'm a partial owner in actually purchased and acquired the brand. Now, in that brand, it was a small group, a small company who started these things, and they had these formulas, and they worked very, very well. Saw the formulas, saw how well they worked, had to get our hands on it, so we did. Now, when you say, and I heard in your intro, call me an innovator, I have to say that I'm not an innovator. I am in no way, shape, or form an innovator. What I am is I'm a messenger. And so I found something that was so good and worked across broad ranges and different domains, across different ages and athletic prowess, and just did the best that I could to make it better. Find this active ingredients that can help make it better, something that already worked. All I did was create the messaging around it, find the correct positioning and the correct market to position it in for the people who needed it the most, and boom. In 2 years, we've grown exponentially, and we're found in over 40 countries around the world, and we have some, deals with some of the largest companies in the entire world starting up next year. All I did was put the right messaging with the right product in front of the right people at the right time, and boom, here we are, serendipity.
I love that. I tell that to people all the time. I think innovation is a fool's game. And people say, why? Why? Well, I tell them, okay, so look, I've innovated multiple times in my life. Initially, I created $1 billion in revenue with my first supplement product. I've been in the supplement biz for many, many years, since the early 90s, created one of the most successful supplements of all time, which is herbal ecstasy. A lot of people know it. And we did over $1 billion in sales at our time, widely documented. You guys can look that up. For the people who know me, they can check out my book, Billion, How I Became King of the Throw Pill Cult, which is on Amazon, and the audiobook just dropped. So anybody that wants to get that can check that out. But I tell people this all the time. Steve Jobs isn't the first dude to create the smartphone. I was just having this conversation with Dave Asprey, the Bulletproof executive. We were having a talk in Austin. I was just on his show, The Human Upgrade, which is a pretty awesome show for you guys to check out. And I was telling Dave, I was like, hey, man, innovation is really a sucker's game. It's good if you're a huge company with an endless budget. But if you're an entrepreneur just starting out, or somebody with a finite budget, don't innovate. In the early 90s, I invented what was the forerunner to modern vaporization. And here's a funny thing, Dustin. I just saw on Netflix this show called Big Vape, which talks about one of those vape companies. And by the way, for anybody who's listening to the show, I don't endorse vaping. I think it's terrible. Please don't do it. And there are things about inventing that technology that I think is regrettable. But I invented that technology. It didn't exist before I came up with digital vaporization, and all the stuff that you see right now in vapes arose from technology that I had built in the early 90s. Now, I did okay. I had an exit somewhere around 2006 with that company, and I made some money, and it was great. But the companies that came after me, like you look at that Juul company, those guys are billionaires. I am not a billionaire. Those guys are. And you look at the people who did it after, they knew how to do better marketing. They knew how to tell a story better. They used the 5 elements of Cialdini's influence to be able to push and change the tide and get consensus. So as an innovator, I was there, just driving the technology, driving it forward. but I didn't make the lion's share of the money. Somebody else did. So I tell entrepreneurs, focus on your story. So it sounds like you're very smart with that. But I want to get back to your product. So
Sure.
what is HGH? Why do we need an alternative treatment to it? I know that you have a product, and I'll give you a chance to talk about that, tell people how to find it. But as we're approaching the end, tell us, actually, in fact, tell us all about, it's called, I believe, BioPro Plus, and it's a non-synthetic alternative to HGH treatment. So who needs HGH treatment? What is it? And how can your product help us?
So unlike my origin story, this one I can do really quick and short because I've been working on this pitch forever. So, so human growth hormone is a natural hormone that's secreted by your pituitary gland. Okay, it's the master hormone for both men and women. It's responsible for metabolism, sex drive, muscle recovery, workout recovery, all kinds of fun stuff like that. The issue is most guys don't realize that human growth hormone goes down sometimes by 50%, in rare cases by 35 years old. So when you wake up 44, you're sluggish, you don't have the energy, your sex drive isn't what it used to be, you got midsection fat hanging out you can't get rid of. It's a pretty well indicator of human growth hormone. What people don't know is human growth hormone has to be converted by the liver into what are called growth factors. Growth factors are just cell signals. That's it. They just go out into the blood and they tell your cells, hey, let's go, let's move, do something, right? Whether it's muscle cells, skin cells, whatever. So if you can just take the growth factors, the cell signals, instead of replacing a hormone like synthetic HGH or other different hormones that you have to inject, get a doctor's prescription, cost loads of money, why wouldn't you just take the growth factors? It's got none of the side effects. You don't need any needles and you don't need any doctors. And it shows up at your house, boom, boom, you're off to the races, you're good to go, and you feel great in about 10 to 14 days. That's all that we do. We don't do anything crazy. We just simply give you the growth factors that tell your cells to go, hey, turn on, get back to working how they used to do, and you're off to the races.
Are there any downsides with it? Like, I know a lot of guys now are talking about TRT treatment. I was just in Austin at Joe Rogan's comedy club, and a lot of guys there were talking about taking TRT, which for you guys who don't know is testosterone replacement therapy. But I know for some people, once you're on that, you can never get off it. Is it the same with this stuff, or can you stop anytime you want to and it goes back to where you were?
So there's a lot of issues when you come to synthetic hormone treatments. And just like you said earlier, like, listen, I'm not a synthetic hormone treatment hater. I don't hate hormone replacement therapy. It's just not for everybody. And there's reasons why. There's tons of side effects. And it actually doesn't matter what therapy you do. If you are injecting or replacing a hormone in your body synthetically, your body is going to naturally shut down its production of that hormone. It's called negative feedback loop. When you take our product, because it's 100% non-synthetic and technically it's bioidentical, so it's molecularly identical to the growth factors that are already in your body, you don't have a negative feedback loop. You don't have a natural shutdown. So without that negative shutdown, you're not having any fertility issues. In fact, the science behind growth factors will show improved fertility rates. You don't have to do any cycling because you're not offsetting other hormones that spike as you increase the synthetic hormones that you're including. When you take TRT, you're going to increase estrogen, which in men is not a great idea. It leads to gynecomastia, which is man boobs. It leads to all kinds of issues and irritability and anxiety. We don't want that. Now, I'm not saying that
Definitely
those things
don't
aren't
want man
medically.
boobs.
Yeah, I know, right? That's a big surgery down here. Actually, is gynecomastia surgery in Florida is a big seller. So if you don't want to experience these issues with synthetic treatments, we have an option for you. And frankly, with the way that the world is going in medicine, a lot of these treatments are being regulated and or banned. We've seen what's really given us this huge boost, I would say, in the last 24 months is with the massive regulations on growth hormone, because synthetic growth hormone can cost you $3,000 to $10,000. We all saw Liver King's blood work and his cost per month, 11 grand in growth hormone and peptide treatments. That's insane. And then we saw last month, we saw the upcoming ban or the ban on growth hormone releasing peptides. So those peptides are done. We are the third option. So it is, it's kind of no surprise. I'm just a lucky guy, dude. It's the right time, right place, right time. It's no surprise why our product has been so well received and why clinics and clinical franchises across the nation and globally are picking up BioPro. It's easy. It works. It's easy to use. It's safer and it works fast.
So do we need a prescription to get it, or how can people get a hold of you, and how can people learn more about BioPro?
You do not need a prescription. You have two options. You can get it through any of the clinics that offer our products. There's clinics all over the United States. or you can get it directly from us. We do offer a platform online where you can get it directly from our website, but those are your two options. We are not actually even allowed to sell on Amazon and any of those other places. Not that we would, because we protect our physicians, but we're not allowed, so it doesn't matter. You can get it through a clinic or you can get it through us. If you get it through us, it ships in 2 days. You get it by the end of the week.
And what's that website that they need to go to?
BioProteinTech.com, BioProteintech.com. You can check us out on Instagram if you want to see kind of how we roll, who we roll with, and what the look and the feel is of what we do. You can see it on Instagram at BioProteinTech, BioProteintech.
Okay, great, you guys. So if that's something you guys are interested in, check out Dustin's company. And Dustin, thanks so much for being a guest on Business Story of the Week. Guys, if you are interested in being on more shows like this one, check out podcastcola.com. You guys can go to Podcast Cola and get yourself booked on tons of great podcasts. Alternatively, if you guys want to hear my story or check out anything that I've done, you can go to ShaheenShayan.com or get the book Billion How I Became King of the Thrill Pill Cult on all of the vehicles that you usually get books on. And the audiobook just dropped on Audible, so check that out. There will be a feature coming out in 2024, 2025, and I will update it here. I will put in the show notes the links to all of Dustin's stuff. And Dustin, thanks again for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right, so here's the thing. We try to get a little bit better every day, but we can't do it without you. So if you like the video, make sure to like and subscribe below. And if you have any comments, just leave them in the space under.